Uh, hello, hello.
Hi Anna, how are you?
Yeah, just give me 5 4 minutes.
No rush,
So
no
we'll
rush. Please
start.
take your time. Yeah, no
Okay.
rush.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
हाँ ठीक है हाँ
ठीक है मैं
हेलो
देखो देखो मिनट हाँ आपकी वीडियो में एकदम
हाँ हेलो hello
Hi, Anna.
good morning
Hello. Hi. Anna.
and stage is all yours. You can start.
Can start? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Hello. Yeah, you
Yes, can you
start.
hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I can.
Yeah, wonderful. Awesome. Hope you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure connecting with you all. It was great talking to you yesterday. So, yesterday we talked about AI, Gen AI, and agentic AI technologies. So, today we are slightly moving towards one of the applications that we do for healthcare. So, it's Inverse Bionics. So, I'll give you a brief story about how we move towards this. So our projects in artificial intelligence, yesterday I discussed about regression models. So one of our project was focused more on using artificial intelligence for COVID severity prediction. So you all know COVID, right? So COVID-19 was the biggest pandemic and it was a very big challenge. So public health challenge. So one of the challenge was hospitalization was a challenge during COVID. Not all patients could be hospitalized, right? So the hospitals has to decide who should be admitted to ICU and who need not be admitted to ICU, right? Who should be outpatient. So to make the determination, we developed some AI models that can use data like, okay, what is the age of the patient? What is the whether the patient had heart disease, whether they have diabetes, whether they had a recent surgery. So we use all these information to build correlation with COVID severity. So that was then COVID severity model, predict COVID severity cases in patients. So that's number one. Number two, from there we move towards long COVID medical management. So the question is, you might be familiar with long COVID. Some people who got COVID later at some later stages, they got long COVID. Okay, so the point is, but not everyone get it. So the question is, why some individuals who got COVID also got long COVID, but some others do not get long COVID. So the insurance companies want to learn more about it. Hospitals want to learn more about it. Researchers want to learn more about it. So we want to identify the factors that contribute to long COVID. What are the factors that lead to why some patients get long COVID, whether some other COVID patients don't get long COVID? So that was the second one. Then we worked on some other AI projects on COVID supply chain disruption because manufacturing vaccine, India was manufacturing vaccine, but the question is in US, manufacturing vaccine was a challenge. So we need to import active pharma ingredients, which are they are the basic ingredients that's used for manufacturing vaccines. So supply chain was a big challenge. So we want to identify the factors that disrupt the supply chain disruption of materials that are needed for manufacturing vaccines and molecular diagnostics. So this is where we started. So we were using artificial intelligence for different healthcare applications. And one of the healthcare application that we focused is mental health, because the next public health challenge is not going to be diabetes, it is not going to be cancer, it is going to be cognitive decline, right? So the point is cognition is a big challenge. So this is one project that we are focusing on cognition. So two things. One is I'm not going to talk the exact technology. Number two, I'm not going to talk because I know we have a diverse audience from physics, chemistry, math. So I'm not going to talk about anatomy and physiology and make you bored, but I'll give you an overview of what is the power of the brain and how well we can tap it, right? So that's the overarching goal of this today's talk. So what is inverse bionics? Bionics is a term which you are familiar with. If you're, generally biomedical engineering or any chemistry or physics students might be using bionics. The bionics is a process of you mimic biology and then build engineering system. For example, artificial leaves, right? So that's an example. Or you are mimicking the hands, right? So you're doing some prosthetics, right? So those are all some examples of bionics. So I'm repeating it. So what is bionics? Bionics is you understand the biology principles and build engineering systems. You're doing some research, you develop some product. So by mimicking the biological process, if you're building some solutions, we call it bionics. So now what is inverse bionics? You mimic the engineering process. Anna, can you, yeah, please. Anna, you have your hand raised. Okay, I hope. Anna, do you have a question? You're good? Okay, perfect. Okay, now what is inverse bionics? Inverse bionics is the opposite of bionics. So what we do? We mimic engineering principles, be it heat transfer, mass transfer, momentum transfer, fluid mechanics, and you mimic biological systems or devices or technologies, then it is called inverse bionics. For example, you know how you imagine, so you take any biology, any engineering process, you know how a fluid mechanics systems principles work, how a thermodynamic principles work. And based on that, if you build, for example, you build some biomedical systems that can help you maintain your blood flow in your body, in your arteries, right, to avoid heart disease, then that's an inverse bionics concept. So I'm repeating again. So bionics is when you take the biological principle and build engineering system, we call it bionics, right? So you would have done a lot of your project if you're working on a dye sensitized solar cells, right? So that may be one example. Or if you're doing inverse bionics, is the opposite of it. So inverse bionics is understand the engineering principles, be it thermodynamic principle, heat transfer, mass transfer, momentum transfer, and then build any biological system or build any applications for biological system, then we call it inverse bionics. So today we are focusing on one of the application where we are going to use it for brain. Okay, so this is something I discussed with you yesterday. So I'm a healthcare consultant based in Washington DC. So for people who did not attend yesterday's session, so we work in Washington DC. So our company helps pharmaceutical and biomedical device companies to develop AI, Gen AI technologies for product development, process improvement, and quality. Okay, so today we take some time to understand how a brain works. So what are the different cognitive functions that we are ignoring on an everyday basis, and how important are those cognitive skills, and how can we improve them, right? I'm not going to talk about the exact AI technology, but I give you the overview. This is going to be improve your brain health. All right. The brain is one of the most powerful technology ever created, right? So we are not, so this is not about the powerful technology. It is not AI, it is not quantum, it is not supercomputers, but the most powerful technology is your brain, right? It has 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections, forming trillions of pathways, right? So the point is, do you know how much it can store? It can store millions of gigabytes, fire signals faster than sports car, and solve problems no machine on Earth can solve. Right? But here's the wild fact: we use only a tiny fraction of this power. Not because the rest is unused, because people never learn how to activate, train, and upgrade the cognitive system. So your brain can, right? So in today's session, we'll be focusing on unlocking the hidden power, the version of your brain that is faster, smarter, more adaptable, and more unstoppable than you've ever experienced. So, next question. So, this is, I think, the first statement. You can read the first statement. Today's world demands more from our brain than any other generation before us. Because I hope you all agree. This is because of three reasons. One is we are hit with thousands of notifications, right? In your mobile phones, you get several notifications every single day. You're hit with thousands of notification, distractions, and decisions every single day. And your right? So, and our attention span has shrunk to less than 80 seconds. Stress levels are higher, sleep quality is lower, and multitasking has become new normal. So, right? So, you may be very proud and you say, oh, I do multitasking all the time. But let me tell you, okay, multitasking kills productivity. right? That's why people say focus on mindfulness, right? So multitasking kills productivity. Single tasking builds deep concentration and increases your productivity. Now let me go to the next one. So next one, neuroplasticity. So what's neuroplasticity? It forms new pathways. So it is one of the greatest scientific discovery, right? It can rewire itself. Every thought, every habit, every skill helps you to rewire your neural circuits. So brain is not a fixed machine. It is a living network that can respond every time. So that's what. So the thing is, you can't say like, oh, I can't memorize. I have a challenge in memorizing things. Oh, I'm not good in this, I'm not good in arithmetics. No, it's not like that. Every day it is not, you're not struck with the brain you have. You can, every day it can evolve and you can train it. It is just like a supercomputer, and your techniques or the program is the programming and you are the programmer. So you can shape it every day. Every day your brain gets evolved, right? So that's how it works. So we call it, the brain is, your brain is building or breaking connections every time, right? Everything you learn, every skill you gain, every habit you do, your brain is breaking or forming any new connection. We are going to discuss about it in detail. So your brain is like an athlete. So it performs best when I train it consistently. Okay. So one of the major questions that we have is, are you training? So this is the important question. This is the take-home message you will have from this session. So are you training? See, just like imagine you're having a large language model. Every time you provide some query, millions of people are using it every day, every second. So the thing is, every time people enter some information, those information is training those models, and there is a model shift, right? So we call it model drift. So same way, your brain receives inputs from your senses in every second, and every time that receives some information, you're doing a habit, you're having thought, you're doing an action. Every time your brain is getting trained, right? So it is just changing. So the question is, are you training it intentionally or letting the world train it for you? Okay, I'm going to repeat this question. This is the take home message for you. Are you training it intentionally or letting the world train it for you? Okay, so you're going to college, you're seeing 100 students every day. You spend 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours with them. So the point is, you get whatever the inputs that you receive, that's going to, because you spend most time with them. So you're not, you're just whatever the inputs you receive, that's going to, your brain is going to respond based on that. Okay, so that's how the evolution happens. So next one, coming to $1 billion mindset. So your mindset is the ignition switch for your cognitive potential. If you believe your brain can grow, it does. Okay. If you challenge yourself every day, okay, the neural network, okay, the neural network strengthen. And if you shift from I can't do it to I am trying to do this, your brain opens new pathways. Your brain is okay, so it can open new paths. So the point is, how do you do it? So train it like $1 billion asset, because that's exactly what it is. And when you develop this mindset, it opens abundant opportunities for you. Right. So the next one, okay, the brain is the hungriest organ in the body, right? Do you know how much it consumes, how energy it consumes? It consumes 20% of total energy in the body, even though it is only 2% of your body weight. So if your energy is low, then your thinking becomes low, your memory weakens, and your motivation disappears. But when your energy is high, you can think it, right? Your brain lights up. You can think with clarity, creativity, and you perform better. So energy isn't luck, it is a skill. And when you learn to manage it, your cognitive power skyrockets. So I'm just trying to give you how the memory works. So before I go to discuss the different cognitive challenges that we are not focusing on. So next one is, so we maintain, okay, emotions are not, this is one very good point. So this is emotions are not separate from intelligence, right? So the point is, people say, oh, there is a correlation between emotion versus intelligence. So how does it work? Suppose if you're at stress, what happens? The prefrontal cortex shrinks. Prefrontal cortex is the front region of your brain. So what happens? The prefrontal cortex shrinks, which means you're not able to do or make decision making, and problem solving, because those are the functions of prefrontal cortex. So when your brain shrinks, so when you're at stress, your brain prefrontal cortex shrinks, so which affects your decision making and problem solving. When you're curious, okay, when you're curious, what happens when you're curious? When you're curious, there is a dopamine gets released, so automatically the memory increases and you solve problems at a faster rate, right? So always, so I'm trying to give a correlation between emotions versus physiology and intelligence. Okay, so when you're stressed, your prefrontal cortex shrinks, so you'll not be able to solve problems, right? Problem solving and decision making will be affected. And when you're curious, if you want to study well, you want to read, memorize faster, then curious. First, you should have curiosity. When you have curious, the brain opens up, right? Then you become releases dopamine and you start learning at a faster rate. So curiosity is the key, right? So you go to, so on a regular, so your brain helps, it has diverse function. It controls your decision, it controls your emotions, controls your creativity, it controls your learning, it controls your motivation, it controls your success. But are we investing in our brain's fitness? That's a question. So the question is, what happens? You go to a hairdresser, you go to a beautician, you go to a your, what is that, your cosmetic designers, and then the point is, people, are we investing in brain fitness is a question. Although the brain has several great advantage, great support, right? So the brain controls everything. It is okay, it gets least attention. Let's go to the next one. So how your brain actually works. So there are different regions of your brain. So the prefrontal cortex, which I was talking about earlier, so which is involved in decision making and planning, problem solving. And the hippocampus, it controls memory formation. And amygdala manages emotional responses, right? It is hippocampus stores memory, whereas amygdala is a region of the brain that's involved in emotion. And cerebellum helps in coordination and motor skills, and temporal and parietal lobe help in coordination. It is language and comprehension, communication, and parietal lobes help in sensory processing. Neural networks, right? So these things, so all these different parts of the brain play a critical role in helping you to some of your brain functions, right? So I'm going to go to some important things that I want to share. I had some notes. Okay, here. Okay, so and the strength of these connections determine how well you think, learn, lead, and perform. So the question is, next one, why people focus on cognitive functions, right? Brain health. There are people, they focus on brain health. One of the point I forgot to share is like, if you're all these, so I'm talking about a lot of physiology aspects, but all these, the primary basis where we first start is like your physical chemistry approach, right? There are two things that you need in life that's so critical. If you want to survive, there are two things that's needed from a physics or chemistry perspective. Can you tell me what are those two things? There are two things that you need to survive. Do you know what are those two things? Right? So one is the electron donor and the electron acceptor, right? So the two things are oxygen and, okay, oxygen is the acceptor, and carbohydrate or any glucose or carbohydrate or any food, right? Whatever the electron donor that you're consuming, that's the electron donor, and oxygen is the electron acceptor. Whenever you consume some food, be it a carbohydrate or any food that you take, and an electron donor that you consume, it oxidizes and it produces electrons, right? So imagine you have a glycolytic pathway. I'm not going to the chemistry. Like you have glycolytic glucose 6 phosphate, glucose 1,6 phosphate, dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Then it becomes glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate, and finally it becomes pyruvate, right? You have a glycolytic pathway. So whatever the electrons that produced in the glycolytic pathway that goes through the citric acid cycle, and these electrons that is on oxidation, it produces electrons. These electrons transport across the electron transport chain to reach oxygen. Is it making sense? So you have electron donor. What are the two things you need for survival? You need electron donor, and the other one is electron acceptor. When your electron donor is oxidized, it releases electrons, and these electrons travel across the electron transport chain to reduce the electron acceptor. So the movement of electrons across the electron transport chain produces an ATP gradient, produces a gradient which generates ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy for the cell. That is the reason you do breathing exercises. That's the reason you do swimming. That's the reason you do jogging. Yeah, right. Sometimes you are trying to increase your blood oxygen intake level. And the second one is that is why you do diet, right? You maintain your diet, you maintain, okay, what food to consume when you have balanced diet. So all these based on the scientific principle behind this is the concept of electron donor and electron acceptor. So this is the scientific basis. So the next one is why people want to prioritize brain health. They do it for different reasons like better decisions, faster thinking, higher creativity, emotional stability, and long-term performance. So next one. So you have skills. So the question is, you all have big goals, right? We want to achieve great things. That's all great. You all do a lot of work. You do work. You have the skills, you have knowledge, you're ready to put hard work, you are dedicated, but still at sometimes we fall behind. What's the reason? What is missing? The missing is the basically the brain health. That's the challenge. So how do we manage it, right? Excuse me. So that's a missing piece is the brain health. So how do we manage it? So we are trying to go into some of the cognitive challenges that are there, like memory, attention, sleep. So I'm going to discuss that in the upcoming slides. There are 9 cognitive challenges that people don't focus every day. We are busy with our work, we are busy. And the point is there are 9 elements that we should focus on. So that's what CDC has identified. So what are those 9 elements that we should focus on? Number one, memory. Second one is attention. Third one is sleep. Fourth one is executive function, language processing, sensory processing, learning, and social cognition. Okay, so we'll go through all these 9 challenges, and I'll cover the techniques in the next 15-20 minutes. Okay, so these are the 9 challenges. You can take a minute to think. See, are we focusing when we were before 20 years, 30 years, how the schools were? So memory was one of our focus. But nowadays, people don't improve those skill sets in memory. The second one is attention. The attention level, they have identified the attention level has shrunk to less than 80 seconds. So you are preparing for an interview. So they say, oh, prepare your interview, prepare your resume for only your review. Your recruiter is going to check your resume for 30 seconds. Or when you're going to talk in an interview, they are going to see the first 30 seconds. They are going to listen to you for the first 30 seconds. So the attention is a big challenge. The next one is sleep. The quality of sleep is a big challenge, right? So the next one is executive function. So how is your leadership skills? How do you connect with people? How do you inspire people? So that's a question. Now, coming to language processing, how do you improve your language processing? When you improve your language, your thinking improves. When your thinking improves, how you lead, okay, that improves. When you improve, okay, then how you lead improves. And when you lead well, then you start connecting well with people. So that's what language is so critical. Sensory processing. Sensory processing is how well you respond to your environment, right? So are you very actively receiving the signals from your environment, right? If or there are challenges in receiving those signals. So that's a big challenge. So if there is a chaotic environment, your brain becomes chaotic. And if your environment and if your processing and if it is not clear, right? So the point is, and if your senses are overloaded, what happens? You're getting so many signal in a crowded place, you're getting 10 different people are communicating something to you. Imagine what happens. So those are all some challenges. The next one is motor function. That's a very practical challenge in our day-to-day life. So what happens? you may not be knowing your motor function is related to cognition. So the point is, when you move, is it? So you may be asking, why should I walk? Why should I run? Why should I do some exercise? How is it related to my work? How is it related to my brain? So when you move, your blood flow increases, your oxygen increases, right? So the thing is, so movement is related to cognition. So we'll talk about it. And then the next one is learning. Learning is the next big challenge. Learning is basically it's an engine for your brain. So every time you learn something new, your evolution happens in your brain, right? So that's another critical element. The last one is social cognition. How do you understand other, how do you read other people? How do you understand others' emotions? How do you connect with people? These are all very critical. When you become, you want to, most of you want to become leaders, right? Every one of us want to be leaders. But if you want to become leaders, it is not about IQ. It is not about your science or math or your chemistry. It is not about that. It is about how you connect with people. How do you inspire people? That's more important, right? So these are all the different cognitive challenges, yeah, right, that people face on a day-to-day basis. So coming to memory. So memory isn't just, it is not remembering facts. It is your story. So it is story of who you are. So every decision you master, every skill you gain, or every skill you practice, or every dream you chase depends on how well you receive and retain your information, right? So the next one is it shapes, your memory, right? If you sharpen your memory, you sharpen your identity. If you sharpen your memory, you sharpen your decisions and you sharpen your confidence. There are different types of memory. So I'm not going into those details like episodic, semantic, procedural, working. Some people can remember any incidents. Oh, I saw you in that marriage. Oh, I saw you in that party. You may be remembering those incidents. Some people may be able to remember the historical events. Okay, World War II happened this time, World War One happened. So you know all the historical events, but you may not be remembering those events. Procedural memory, right? And working memory is all about, so on a day-to-day basis, what kind of information you receive. So those kind of details. So some people can understand all the nitty-gritty details, and some people may know only the high level. So there are different kinds of memory. So, and it's important to have memory as one of the skills. So, and I repeated, so memory is not just remembering the story. It is not remembering facts. It is a story of who you are, right? If you are, for example, you're having a goal and you don't remember it next day, it doesn't make any sense, right? You have to remember those things, what goals you have, what steps you have taken, what decisions you made, what efforts you made. So memory is so critical, right? So it's your identity. It's not just remembering remembering any information. Next one, attention. So attention, coming to attention, it is one of the most valuable assets. So the point is, every ping you receive on your mobile phones, right? Every distraction you get, it is costing your potential, right? It is not about doing more. It is doing what matters with full power, right? Attention. So the point is, so when you control your attention, you control your life. Again, we have different types: sustained attention, selected attention, divided attention, and executive attention. Sustained attention, you can, for example, I'm talking for 40 minutes. Some people may be able to listen for all the 40 minutes. So the point is, it is a sustained attention. So some people can focus only on the selected topics that they are interested in. Some people may be able to listen sometime, but not all the time. So you have different types of attention, and people, that depends on the individuals. Okay. Next one, coming to sleep. Sleep. There are three benefits. Okay. It is not, the thing is, there are three benefits of sleep. So, what are the three benefits? One is it can repair neurons. Number two, if you don't sleep well, you don't have memory. You can't, memory, sleep is when you have deep sleep, your memory consolidation happens. So, if you don't sleep well, you can't remember. I'm repeating it. If you can't sleep well, remembering is a challenge. Memorizing is a challenge because memory consolidation happens in deep sleep. That's number two. Coming to third one, what is the other advantage of sleep? What is the other advantage of sleep? The third one is it removes toxins from your brain. That's number 3. So there are 3 different types of the 3 benefits of sleep. So what happens when you skip sleeping? So skipping sleep is like, okay, skipping software upgrades, eventually everything crashes. Okay, so sleeping is so critical. So always I say 3 things you should do. One is eat well, sleep well, and be happy. If you do all these 3, the remaining things, naturally it happens. But if you don't do all these 3 things, then it's difficult. Imagine the challenge for your teachers if you are a student. Imagine the challenge for your teachers. If you don't do these 3 things, you don't eat well, come to class, you will not concentrate what they are saying. Number 1. Number 2, if you don't sleep well, you will not come, you'll be sleeping in your class. You can't focus, you can't listen, right? And being happy, that's more important. I was telling you, talking, being curious, it releases dopamine. Same as with happiness. If you're happy, it releases dopamine, then you can focus well and your attention will be good. Okay, so next one, executive function. This is one big challenge. Today, most people, one of the big challenge we see among many of our clients, people don't want to take responsibility. People don't want to take accountability. People don't want to be leaders. They say, oh, you take the initiative, I will be supporting you, right? So people don't want to do executive function. Executive function is a big challenge. So it is like a CEO of your brain. Imagine if your CEO is tired, it is overwhelmed, they are distressed. So what happens? So if they are distracted, the entire organization collapses. So your brain is like a CEO of your brain, right? So if your CEO is really distracted, then your organization collapses. So that's the way. So you should not be distracted, right? You should not be overwhelmed. So how do you do it? So this is the part of the brain that says, okay, focus, decide, stay calm, and do the right thing, right? So this is the executive function of the brain. So how do you do it? Focus, decide, stay calm, and do the right thing. So this is the next one. The language processing. So language, this is one good one. So language is not communication, it is cognition. So what happens? The quality of your language decides your quality of your thinking. When you think well, you lead, okay, when you think well, you lead well. And when you lead well and you connect well, okay? So this is, it depends on different kinds of language processing, either listening, speaking, reading, writing. So I'm not going into the details. So next one is sensory brain. So you're not experiencing the world directly. You're experiencing it with a reality. Your brain creates a reality and with which you're sensing the brain, right? So when your senses are overloaded, if your environment is chaotic, your brain becomes chaotic. And if your senses are overloaded, your memory is affected, your sleep drops, right? Your attention is affected, your focus is affected, and your performance drops. So you have to make sure your senses are overloaded, right? You try one mistake students may do, or research scholars you're trying to digest everything. It's not practically feasible. You should understand what is needed and then focus on those specific things, and only then you can. So we say one thing at a time, focus on one thing at a time, or focus on mindfulness, right? So next one, this is the other thing, this is so critical. So if you're even what we do is we do even meetings, we do walking when we do meetings. That's something. Even your class, for example, you have 5 periods, right? You call periods. You have 5 periods, 5 hours for a physics or chemistry. Do walking for 1 hour and then you discuss your topic. So that's something. Motor function is so critical. It is neurological. So the thing is how it's related. For example, when you move, what happens is your brain. So I was talking that about earlier. So when you're moving, what happens? Your blood flow increases, your oxygen increases, your still body creates a still mind, and a moving body creates a high performing brain, right? So it makes your body active and it creates an active mind. Okay, next one, learning. Learning is not something you do in school, right? It is an engine for your evolution. Every new skill you learn, every new idea you connect, or every new challenge you take helps you to reshape your brain. So constantly learning is, if you need a big life, you need a big brain, and learning is how you achieve it. Okay. Next one, social cognition. Social cognition is, it has three different functions I was saying. So one is understanding people, understanding, okay, you can read people, understand others' emotion, and you're understanding their intentions. And the second one is if you want to become leaders, leaders are not defined by their IQ, they are defined by their ability to inspire people, the ability to connect, right? So it's all about how they inspire and connect with people, right? So you got some idea. So we have discussed some of the challenges that we were ignoring on a day-to-day basis. So going to repeat it. So these 9 elements, these are the 9 different challenges that we should focus on. So I'm going to repeat it: memory, attention, sleep, executive function, language processing, sensory processing, motor function, learning, social cognition. These are the 9 different challenges that we focus on a day-to-day basis. So one of the question I asked you was, you all want to achieve something great. You all can become leaders, you can become creators, you can become innovators. You are having the knowledge, you have the skill, you have the abilities, you're putting a lot of hard work, efforts, and dedication. So what is the missing piece? The missing piece is we are not focusing on the cognitive challenges. Right, so focusing on the cognitive challenges is so critical. So everything, you take one element and see where you are in the process and how you can improve it. So for example, how's my memory skill? How can I improve it? So each one is interconnected. If you improve one skill, the other skill also will improve, right? So focus, attention, memory, sleep, executive function, language processing, sensory processing, motor function, learning, so social cognition. Your memory skills may be so great, but you may not be having social cognition. You may not be willing to talk to people. I may not be willing to connect with people. So we may be going and teaching the content to students. Oh, I love solving great derivations or calculus. But the point is, I don't like to talk to people like, okay, how was your weekend? What did you do? So those, we may not be interested in doing that, right? So sometimes it may be vice versa as well. So that's the point. So how do we improve all these as a holistic way, in a holistic way, to improve our skill sets and abilities? That's more important. Okay, so now let me go into some of the neuro techniques that can help to overcome these cognitive challenges. So there are different kinds of neuro techniques like neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, synaptic pruning, myelination, long-term potentiation, long-term depression, Hebbian learning. I'm not going to read all these, but these are all the list of things that we are going to focus on. So if you want to upgrade your brain, some of the things that you can focus when you're learning or something new, whenever you're learning something new, or whenever you are practicing a new skill, and whenever you're challenging yourself, then your brain upgrades. So these are all some things that we have to do on a regular basis. There are different techniques that can help you to do it in a regular basis, right? So what are those things? So one is you practice learning new, practicing new things, challenging yourself, focusing so deeply. These are all things. How can we do it on a day-to-day basis? Whether you're a professor teaching a class, or whether you're a student, you're a researcher doing some research, all these provides abundant opportunity for you to reshaping your brain. So again, the second question I wanted to reiterate is, are you intentionally, your brain is getting evolved. It is not, you're not struck with the brain that you have, right? When you're born, you got a brain, so you're not struck with the brain you have. Every day it is getting evolved. When you were young, when you were in age 5, your mom would have said, oh wow, you're good in singing, you're good in painting. And after 10 years, when you're 10 years, you would have realized, oh, I'm not good in singing, I'm good in dancing. And when you go to your high school, you think, oh, I'm not good in dancing, my math is really good, right? And when you come to college, right, everything, it changes, right? So the point is, your brain is not, you're not struck with the brain that you have. It is evolving regularly. So the question is, are you intentionally training or letting the world train it for you? Right? I'm going to repeat it. Are you intentionally training it or letting the world train it for you? So that's up to you. So how you engineer your brain, that's more important. Okay, so the question is the other example, other metaphor I gave you an example is so your brain is like a supercomputer, right? Every day it can bring new habit, it can generate new neurons, it can create new neurons, it can remove the habits that is not needed, it can add a new skill, right? It can evolve on a day-to-day basis and it can change your entire life. So it is like a supercomputer. You can do everything you want and you are the programmer and neurotechnics is the software. Okay. Right. So now let's see. So you have learned 9 cognitive function. Now let's focus on neurotechniques. Okay. So these are not theoretical things. These are not motivational quotes. These are all scientifically proven techniques that are used by clinicians on a day-to-day basis. And our team is using artificial intelligence and healthcare data like electronic health records data, or it could be real-world evidence data coming from clinical data, clinical trials, or claims data. We use all different types of healthcare data and then build models that can help. So I'm just giving you the gist of how it really works, right? So that's the point. So next one. I'll start with neuroplasticity. So I was talking about different kinds of techniques. So one of the first one we want to focus on is neuroplasticity. So what is neuroplasticity? It's your brain's ability to change, grow, and every time you learn a new skill, every time you have a new habit, every time you have a new idea, your brain can challenge. Your brain can rewire the brain. Your brain can rewire and it can grow, right? So that's what is a neuroplasticity. So it can help in rewiring the brain. So what kind of techniques that you can use to rewire your brain, right? So right, so every time so you it can so you're building your brain. So it's not, you don't have a brain that is built long time back. So it's, you're doing it on a regular basis. It depends on what you learn, it depends on your habits, depends on your skills. So it's a ability. So this is a take home is like it's a ability to change, grow, and organize. Coming to neurogenesis, what's neurogenesis? It is your brain can grow new neurons, right? Neurogenesis is okay, when you move your body or sleep deeply or actively, then literally it grows stronger, right? So the brain that grows is the brain that wins. So it can create new neurons, right? You know what is neurons? Neurons are the brain cells. So it can grow, and when you have optimized conditions, then your brain cells can grow on a regular basis. So I'll be talking about how the weak connections will be removed and new connections will be added, dominant connections will be added. So this is the process that will help in doing that. So I'm repeating it. So what is neurons? Neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is a process of creating new neurons. New neurons are formed in your brain. So how does it happen? So it depends on how you learn, how you walk, right? So it depends on all your exercises, sleep, and learning, and your habits. Coming to next one. So next one is synaptic pruning. What is synaptic pruning? You know what is pruning, right? So you're weakening new neural connections. So what is a connection? Every time you learn something new, the brain creates a connection. And when you're repeatedly doing that time and again, these connections become stronger and you perform better. For example, if you want to gain a skill set, for example, you want to do a programming, let's say you want to learn programming. So every time you learn programming, these connections are formed, and these connections gradually get strengthened when you start programming more. And what is synaptic pruning? Is removing those connections. Suppose you are not learning a skill, you know you had a skill set, but you're no longer using it. So what your brain does, it automatically removes those connections. So this process is called synaptic pruning. That's why if you want to perform, I was telling earlier, if your brain is like an athlete, if you want to perform best, you want to train it consistently. Otherwise, what will happen? Otherwise, synaptic pruning will happen and those connections will be removed, right? So you forget something. So for example, you would have done something before 2 years, you may be an expert, but you're no longer. What is the reason? That reason is because synaptic pruning, because you never trained it, right? So those connections are removed. Coming to myelination. What is myelination? You have a skill set, and when you practice this consistently, the myelin becomes thicker. So that is what is determines your processing speed. You have seen some people, they solve problems at a very fast rate. They can create a code at a fast rate. They can develop a software at a very fast rate. They may be driving at a fast rate. So the point is, it depends on your brain speed. Their brain can work at a very fast pace. So how it works, it is the processing speed of your brain. So if you when you practice time and again, your myelin sheath, right, the myelin becomes thicker. So when the myelin becomes thicker, your processing speed becomes faster. Is it making sense? So this process is called myelination. So next one is long-term potentiation. What is long-term potentiation? Every time you recall an information, for example, you recall the information time and again. So what happens? Your brain thinks, oh, this is needed, let's keep it. So when you're recalling the information, so it says, if this matters, keep it, right? So that's what, if the next one is long-term depression. This is strengthening the neural connection. Every time you're recalling the information, that's what I was talking earlier. So if you're recalling the information, your neural connections get strengthened. If you're not using it at all, then synaptic pruning happens, which means those neural connections will be removed. Always generally, the weak connection, there are two different type of connections. Some connections may be stronger and some connections may be weaker. Stronger, what are those strong connections? The connections that the skills that you are doing it on a regular basis, those connections may be stronger. The skills you don't use it on a regular basis, you've learned it once upon a time, but you're not using it on a regular basis, so those connections will be weaker. So what happens? These weaker connections will be removed so that the stronger connections can dominate. So that's what is synaptic pruning. So coming to long-term potentiation, when you recall the information every time, your brain says, this matters, keep it. So those information will be, those connections, those patterns will be retained. All other connections will be removed. Coming to long-term depression, there are some skills you may not be using it. So what happens? So for example, there may be some habits, there may be some skills you may not be using it. So those connections will naturally become weak. So what happens is, after some time, long-term depression, those connections will be removed by your brain. So whenever you recall the information, those connections will be strengthened. Whenever you don't recall the information, those connections will be removed. So long-term depression, this is long-term depression. Coming to Hebbian learning, okay? Hebbian, we call it as a golden rule of the brain. Neurons that wire together and fire together. So how do you build this one? So when you connect the ideas, when you practice some new skills, okay, when you learn something practically, learn something by doing it, right? So you're learning it by doing, right? You're doing something practically, you're doing it, and then you learn it. So when you do those things, then your networks are built. And when those networks are built, then that creates a memory. That's how it creates a memory, and it gets retained, right? So I'm repeating it, neurons that fire together, wire together. So how do you build those strong connections? How do you build those strong network? There are three things that you should do. One is you connect those ideas. You have some idea and you connect those ideas. Take some time and think about it. So that's something that is number one, right? So generally, when you learn something in your class, you go home and you just digest that idea. So think that idea. So that is connecting those ideas. That's number one, right? Number two is practicing new skill. Number three, learn things by doing it, not just reading with book. Try to do it, right? So, and then when you do it, then you remember those things, those that creates neural connections. That's why sometimes when you do something practically, you remember those things. And if you don't do it, you just, it's a short-term memory. So next one is neural rewiring. It's a changing the old pattern and creating new ones. It is transforming your, inside out. That's what is the neural rewiring. So how do you do that? Again, it is all about your habits and how you are, how do you, rewiring is how do you, what kind of habits you have on a currently. So that depends on it. If you're not using some of your skills, if you don't have those habits, those already, it will be removed and your brain will rewire what you have, what you're building new. Coming to cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is what is the, it is basically, it is, I have something, I had a story about it. Okay, cognitive reserve, we'll talk about it. Okay, so it is the savings account, right? It is a savings account. So the more you learn, more you challenge yourself, and more you connect with people, the richer it becomes, right? So it is about how do you learn, right? More you connect with people. So this is what is creating the cognitive reserve. Right? So this is what is cognitive reserve. Coming to the last one, it's a neuro integration. This is one of the important skill set. Sometimes your left brain works, sometimes your right brain works, sometimes your emotional brain works, sometimes your reasoning brain works. But in practically, if you want to perform well, there are some different group of, there can't be a coordination between these different regions is very important. So sometimes your emotional brain, thinking brain, and your okay and your reasoning brain, all these should work together, and only then you can perform well, right? Imagine you're driving a car, you're coordinating, right? You need to coordination, you're talking to four, yeah? There are different kinds of things. One is your coordination brain, your reasoning brain. You have to make some decision, right? Should you change the lane? So the thing is, your multiple regions of the brain have to work together, and when this happens, you start performing extremely well. Okay. So this is all we wanted to finish. So these are all the different techniques. So yeah, I will have one thing. I have two. Okay. So the thing is, so before I want to end. So I want to remember one thing. You're not ordinary. You're right. You're not average. You're not limited. You're carrying inside you the most powerful, powerful machine ever created. It is the brain. So the point is, your brain can grow new cells. In the session we were discussing, your brain can form new cells. It can rewire old patterns. It can learn new skills. It can overcome any challenge, and it can transform your entire life. So you're not defined by your past. You're defined by the brain you chose to build from today. So if you train your brain, protect your focus, strengthen your abilities, right? And believe in your potential. There is nothing you can't achieve. You can become leaders, innovators, creators. So the future is not, this is another take home message. Your future is not written. Always people say, your future is not written. No, your future is not written. Your brain is writing it starting now, right? Go out there, think big, act bold, train your brain, and you can do wonders. So where do we start this? So the point is, I want to conclude this with a very small story. So the point is, I don't know if you guys are all in LA, in Delhi, it's more populated. The point is, if you go to Assam, you go to Kerala, you see a lot of elephants, right? I don't know how many of you visited Assam or Kerala. You go to Mysore Palace, you see a lot of, you have some elephants. So the point is, when the elephants are young, what they put is they put a chain in its leg. So the young elephant will try to break the chain, and it will struggle, it will try to break the chain, and it can't. But when the elephant grows bigger, it assumes that it can still not break the train, right? That is an assumption. So that is what happens with most of us. So we all have the brain and the things, right? You all try sometime and you can't do it. You believe that, oh, this is not for me. I can't achieve this. I can't do this. But that's not the case. The brain is not a fixed machine. It is a living, evolving network that responds every time. So the response, but what is that response and how you respond to that depends on you, right? So that's why I asked you, are you intentionally training yourself, or letting the world train it for you? And if you learn the art of intentionally training yourself, then you can achieve your goal and you can do wonders. Okay, with this, I'll conclude. Thank you. If you have any question, I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much. I also want to thank, my deep appreciation goes to Ayana. Ayana was taking the efforts for the last few months, and I also want to thank Professor Preeti Thakur and Professor Seema for their proactive initiative. Yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Aina, I think you're on mute, Aina.
Dr. Chris, a very informative lecture today. One thing I like the most that you said that our brain works the most, but we are least concerned about our brain. So that
Yeah, that
was,
is
I think, the tagline that brain works the most, but as we say, we are least concerned that what to do and what not to do with our brains. So very informative lecture. I hope our students would have more questions for this topic today. So over to you, Dr. Raina.
Thank you, Professor Preeti. Such a pleasure connecting with you.
We are not able to hear you, beta. Just unmute yourself.
I think you're on mute. I think you're on mute, right? Yes.
Aru,
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Actually, I have some questions related to my. I want to pursue masters in physics, but currently I am doing BTech in computer sciences. So I would like to ask that should I do a bachelor's in physics major, or my BTech degree would be enough to tell them that I have a degree, and I'll fulfill my credits from the courses from whether from the IIT courses or MIT online.
Wonderful. That's a great question. So you you are currently pursuing BTech in engineering, right? BTech in engineering.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to do masters. Okay, that's a good question. One of the flexibility in US is like you can join any program irrespective of your background. Your bachelor's is not a problem at all. If you're doing an engineering, you can go and do a master's in science program, commerce, arts, or even law, whatever the program you want, even medicine. I tell you, even medicine. There are many doctors, MDs in US who have a background and they will be doing electrical engineering and they will go and do MD. There will be some economics and people will go and do MD, political science and do MD. So the point is any bachelor's, whether you are doing a bachelor's in engineering, any branch of engineering, and you can pursue a master's in engineering or sciences or whatever you have. Or if you're doing a bachelor's in science or arts, even you can go and do a master's in science or engineering, right? Irrespective. So what is the one thing they look for is they may be looking for some prerequisite courses. So they may be asking, okay, if you want to do a major in this discipline, so okay, have you done these prerequisite? Let me give you an example. If you want to do a biomedical engineering, they may say, oh, you have done a bachelor's in electrical, so have you done something like physiology, or have you done some courses in thermodynamics, heat transfer, or something like that, right? So the take home message is if you have an engineering, you can do a master's in any area. Only thing is they may be asking you to take some prerequisite courses.
So that means that I would not require any kind of physics major degree for that.
Exactly. Even if you need a prerequisite courses, you can go there and you can take it. That's the problem. Otherwise, if you're taking online courses, those courses you can share it. That depends on the department and those coordinators in the department, graduate coordinators.
Yes, sir. But actually, there were some when I searched from Google, then it said that you still require some credits around from 40 to 60 in physics only to able to eligible for the masters in physics. So, is it necessary that I have to fulfill the credits, or it's just I can do courses that gives me certificates? Without the
No,
credits.
you don't have to. I don't know what was the source you used, but universities are very flexible. I believe, what engineering program are you in? You're in computer science?
Yes, sir.
What
I'm in computer sciences.
Computer science. So some of the courses, even your electronics or your basic, in your first year, you would have taken some physics course, physics one, physics two courses you would have taken. So the thing is, they map it basically. When your coordinator says these are all the prerequisite courses, you have to justify. No, I have taken the other courses, but the names may be different. Is it making sense? Your course names may be different. The content should match somewhat, at least 50-60%. That's it. Then if you explain to them, then you don't have to take all those courses.
Okay,
And
sir.
universities are flexible. You have a computer science degree, and of course, any university would be happy to take you. And yeah, it's not a problem. Any program. In fact, I tell you, people who take, I'm seeing some of our clients, they do like medicine and they do, completely different things. So people do it. And biology, even yesterday, I was talking to a student. She did bachelor's in biotechnology and she is doing computer science. So that's even possible.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I have one or two questions.
Yeah, sure.
First, you said that today's attention span overtly reduced. So, what are the actual causes and how to improve that attention span? And second question is like that regarding this neuroplasticity and these things, how AI could affect, matlab, whatever it can improve, decrease, or what will be the impact of AI in this learning
Wonderful.
processes?
Okay, great question. So attention is a big challenge. People, especially when you have universities, schools, they say like, okay, the attention span has significantly decreased. People want to focus. The point is you have focus time. People generally have focus time on what they really wanted to do and then, spend those time. Number two is avoid digital things. That's something you can do. Most people will not believe. The point is, after 8 o'clock, 8 to 10 or something, at least 2 hours, I don't use any electronic gadgets. I don't use my laptop. I don't use my mobile phones. The point is, I do, the thing is paper. I don't know how many of you use paper or writing those things. So if you see, I can tell you I show you. You see here? So you can imagine. So I don't use computer. I still use papers. So the point is you can imagine. So these are all, every day I print a lot of things. And when I go travel, even I have a trip, so 5 hours, 6 hours, I read it. And I draw. So the thing is, whenever I have something from my clients, I get it printed, mark everything, and come back and give it back to them and ask them to make all those edits. So the point is, you can have more focus. That's something we are missing. When you have computer, you have YouTube, you have Facebook, lot of distractions, right? So the point is, how do we avoid all those distractions? So that's something you want to do every day. If people can avoid 2-3 hours of digital time, that's going to be really good. You don't use your mobile phone, you don't use your laptop. That is something, that's a very good thing you can do. That's the number one. Number two, even I'm trying to start a business in US. Instead of Android, just you have a flip phone. I'm going to get flip phone. People will be interested in it, because when you have Android, when you have iPhone, it's a distraction. It kills time. So instead you use a flip phone, just attend the call and cut the call. That's it. Right, that will be a really good thing. People want, many organizations need it, many leaders, even I will be using it. That's the point. Right. So yeah, so those are all the two things I would say. These are all something very important, and maybe your university or department can consider my idea. So that's the thing, right? So the next one, your question is AI. That's a good area. Neuroscience is one of the most booming area right now. It is next to AI. They believe that's why many companies are investing a lot in neuroscience. You might be aware of the company Neuralink. Elon Musk is developing, right? Neuralink, so which is focused on brain machine interfaces. Like, for example, you want to switch on your television. What do? You go and switch on, or you use your remote. So can you brain, when you think you want your television should be switched on, will it happen? I'm repeating it. So when you want to switch on your television at your home, what do? You go and switch on, and then you use your remote. Instead of that, when you think your TV should be switched on, can it switch on, get switched on? Yes, that is possible because they put a chip in your brain, and when your brain thinks, automatically the chips connects with the television, and then it gets switched on. That's what is neuro brain machine interfaces. People who are paralyzed, who people have some motor disorders, so they want to move, so they are using these kind of brain machine interfaces. So coming to your second question on how AI can be used for cognition, was your question for attention or cognition?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
on behalf of our university, Amit University, Haryana, and Department of Physics, it is my privilege to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you for your delivering such insightful and informative sessions during these 2 days, and your expertise on AI and general AI and neuroplasticity has enriched our understanding on those. And we will be looking forward for some other collaboration to you. And I extend my deepest gratitude to the university's support and our head of the institution, Professor Seema R. Pathak, and our head of the department, Professor Preeti Thakur, to organize these type of events, and all the faculty members who helped me to organize that. And also to the students for whom we have organized these things and their supports. Thank you. Thanks a lot for
Thank you
your
so
support.
much. Such a pleasure connecting with you all. Have a great one. Talk soon. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Krish. It was
Thank
wonderful
you, Dr.
connecting
Preeti.
with
Such a
you.
pleasure meeting you through this event. Yeah.
And I hope we will have more such opportunities. Dr. Raina will definitely organize and be in contact with you to in
Yeah,
future
yeah.
also
You
we
should
are
apply
going
for
to
the Fulbright program. Are you guys applying for the Fulbright programs? Yeah.
Yeah.
so I
Fulbright
think
visiting professorship. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Okay.
let's hope
Yeah.
to collaborate in future also, and we will have more such
Yeah.
interactions with you. Thank you for
Yeah.
your
Such a
time.
pleasure meeting you.
And now I
Thank you.
hope you may get a good sleep and you are
Oh, yeah.
available.
No, no worries. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay,
Such a
thank you.
pleasure meeting you all. Thank
Same
you.
here,
Bye.
same here.
See
Okay,
you.
bye
Bye.
bye.